Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. So today we're going to be talking about, well, the dark night of the soul, or as I lovingly like to call it, the spiritual depression. So this is a pretty prevalent topic right now just because there is a really big energy in the world right now for the collective where a lot of people are experiencing the dark night of the soul, and a few of you might be experiencing it for the first time. So I can only ever speak from my experience and the experience of the people around me, and that is especially true because I feel like everyone will go through the dark night of the soul differently. But to kind of summarize what that looks like, it's sort of like hitting rock bottom on a spiritual level. And of course that comes with a lot of different symptoms and issues. So as I jokingly called it, the spiritual depression, there are a lot of people who will feel like they're depressed as they're going through the dark night of the soul, so really low motivation. You could be dealing with typical symptoms of depression, so hypersomnia, insomnia. Either you might have a tendency to overeat or undereat, just depending. Just really kind of bedridden, sadness, I don't know. Just the typical things that you would think of when it comes to a stereotypical depression. So that's a really big symptom or factor that you might notice when you are going through the dark night of the soul. The other thing that you might be experiencing is a lot of guilt. So this might not necessarily be guilt towards other people, although it could be, but you might be forced to look at things that maybe you haven't forgiven that you yourself have done or other people have done to you or that you've done to other people. Things that hold low vibrational energy. A lot of karmic energies are associated with the dark night of the soul. So when you're going through this time period, the reason it exists is to cause you to look at the things in your life that aren't working anymore. So let's say you have an idea about where you want to be in the future, how you want your life to look, the kind of person you want to be. The dark night of the soul is that preparation period where it drags you back so that you can fling forward, like that arrow analogy where an arrow gets drawn back before it shoots forward. That's what the dark night of the soul is. It's really forcing you to say, hey, okay, I want to end up here, but there's all these things going on right now or that I'm holding on to that are preventing me from being in that space. So how can I get rid of this baggage in order to get to where I want to be? And that's what the dark night of the soul is for. So it is really beneficial when you look at it in a positive light, but it can be really tumultuous and hard to deal with because of the symptoms. The other thing that I have noticed for myself and people close to me, particularly during this dark night of the soul, is the influx of anxiety. So I deal with general anxiety anyway. It's not anything new for me, but I've been having systematic panic attacks and I'm not the only one, so that's kind of new. So if you're dealing with a lot of anxiety lately, know that that is probably the energetic shift that's happening as well. This particular time period, we are facing the last supermoon of 2020. That is a big deal as well energetically. So all these things are really coming up for the perfect storm. Now, let's get into the better part of the video, which is how do I deal with the dark night of the soul? So I want to start with dealing with anxiety in general. So even if you're not going through the dark night of the soul, but you do experience panic attacks or anxiety, I'm going to give you a few tips that I've learned to kind of deal with it. So the first mindset shift that I would ask you to try to focus on is that when you are having a panic attack, you almost have to ignore it, which sounds really weird, but the more attention that you give it while you're having it, the more that you start spiraling in your own mind of like, why am I feeling this way? Like, what's going on? Am I anxious for a reason? Like, is this my intuition? The kind of thoughts that feed into anxiety in general. You just want to shut those off. So you have to have that mindset shift of, it doesn't matter. And even though you're still going to be experiencing the physical symptoms like a racing heart, just shortness of breath, the typical experiences that you might have during a panic attack, and that's individualized as well per person. But as far as the general atmosphere goes, you're just going to have to think of it as a temporary experience and just recognize that it will go away, which is hard and you have to train yourself to do it. But that has been the best method for me, because every time I'm having a panic attack now, instead of becoming lethargic and shutting myself away, I'm now able to be around people or be out in public, and it's not fun. Like, I don't enjoy being in those situations when I'm having a panic attack, but if you just kind of push for life goes on and you're just gonna get through it, it makes it way more manageable for some reason. So I recommend that. Now, dealing with the more depression side of the dark night of the soul, so going outside has got to be one of the most beneficial things that you can do. Unfortunately, since we are in quarantine right now, I know that's really not reasonable for a lot of people or something that's able to be done. So if you can open your windows, open the blinds, let in sunlight, let in fresh air, that really helps. If you can find a way to eat consistently. So I recommend trying to eat fresh fruits and vegetables, because the vibrational property of fresh fruits and vegetables are very high. And so what you end up doing is, I mean, you don't have to worry about cooking or anything, which could be hard if you're depressed, but at the same time, consuming those products will help raise your natural vibration up, so it doesn't feel so harsh to be sitting in that low level energy that you've been in. I also recommend trying to watch a movie or just do something that you might do when you're relaxing anyway, just for that, I don't know, feeling that it's okay to be sitting down, I guess, because there is this, at least for me personally, I know that I have a hard time dealing with feeling unproductive, and that feeds into my depression. So if I can distract myself with something I like to do, even if it's just a recreational activity that I can do from the comfort of my own bed, I feel better. If there are small things that you can do to try and stay productive, like working on a hobby, being creative helps so much. So I play music, I do that, I can paint, dancing, anything that you find that is really your niche, that might be something to do. Online shopping is really nice, but I would be careful with that because you don't want to be blowing all your money, but that could be something that helps occasionally, or just like browsing and not actually putting anything in your cart. But those are the things that I do to try to overcome the more physical symptoms of the dark night of the soul. Now, as far as the push to release the karma, meditation can be really helpful, shadow work can be really helpful, and if you guys want to know more information about those things, I can make videos about that as well. But it's essentially just trying to heal the things that you still have going on inside your head. So if there are repeating thoughts that are coming up, that's something to take a look at. If you're feeling triggered by certain things, that's something to kind of pay attention to, right? So any sort of signs that you get that there's something that you're still holding on to that's pushing you in a low vibrational energy, now is the perfect time to work through that, really process what happened and let it go. Forgiveness is huge, and something that I did learn about forgiveness that I feel inclined to say is that you don't have to trust someone to forgive them. So there is a difference between forgiving what someone has done, what you have done, and expecting trust to be rebuilt in that process, because that's not the same thing. So keep that in mind. It might make the forgiveness part a little bit easier. You won't feel quite as vulnerable accepting and letting go. So those are all of my tips for dealing with the dark night of the soul. If you guys have any questions, feel free to drop me a comment or go hit me up on my Instagram account. All that information is going to be in the description box. Thank you so much for watching this video, and I will see you in the next one.